Hey, what's up, everybody? My name's Tony, and this is Lido Loca, and it's Cruise News Live Night. It's just me, the lovely Jenny B, under the weather, and so I had to call in a replacement. We changed the whole show around to the point where I think the robots, they shut us off. So if you were in that first stream, I hope everybody got to know each other. Sure was a lot of you there. I hope everybody's back. And right here at the beginning of the live stream, the best thing to do is hit the like button so that the robots will favor us. Now look, I'm not gonna wait all night to bring on Don. You guys know Don is here. Let me bring Don on. Don Terris. What's up, Don?
Hi everybody. How's everyone doing? Yeah.
Hey.
Everyone was commenting. I noticed they said, I guess the CDC knows we're live.
The CDC done crushed us, Don. They knew that we were gonna talk about some crazy stuff tonight. Are you ready to talk about the cruise news?
Interesting time there, Tony. You lead the way, bud, and we'll talk it out. Oh, by the way,
yes,
guys, can you tell we're not fighting yet?
That's right. If I could get across the border, Don, I would come up there and I would take care of business. No, I'm just kidding. Look, I've been, well, never mind. All right, here's the deal. If you are new here, please consider subscribing. Hit the subscribe button. Like I said, it's a great time to hit the like button. If you have a question for Don and I, we're going to cover some cruise news, especially this breaking cruise news about whether or not the CDC will let us cruise midsummer based on some threats. But yes, if you have a question, once we get through the news and you start seeing us look into the chat, like it'll look like this, maybe type the word question with big capital letters so that we can look and see what the questions are. But first, we're going to talk about some cruise news. A lot has happened since this afternoon, since we both released our news shows. I think the first thing that happened after my show went live, Don, is that Carnival canceled their June cruises. We've been waiting. So Carnival, Royal Caribbean, MSC, Disney, we've been waiting for them to cancel June. You know, NCL's already done that. And so finally we get the news that Carnival has canceled their U.S. sailings. And then shortly after that, Disney, or maybe Disney did it first, but Disney also canceled their June sailings. Any surprise there?
None whatsoever. Even when they extended the deadline last time for the final payments, we knew June wasn't going to happen. It's going to take 60 to 90 days to get ready. So April, May, June, it had no hope, unfortunately.
What are your feelings about July cruises in the U.S.?
The only way it's going to be July is if they actually get rid of the current situation that they're in. If Norwegian gets their way, basically, and CLIA and every other cruise line. The test cruises and everything, I don't think the cruise lines want to invest in these contracts that they're talking about with the hospitals and the hotels and all that. They've lost billions of dollars. They don't need to spend more money just to try and sail for 2 months.
Yeah, so that was the biggest thing. So we'll work through Norwegian. So Norwegian, all right, so the timeline. We have, what's it go back to? Thursday last week, where we have the conversation between the Miami-Dade mayor and the CDC, and we got the tease that we would be getting new guidance from the CDC shortly, which was exciting because we got upgraded from soon, or whichever way it worked. We got upgraded from soon to shortly, or shortly to soon, and I think all of us thought, well, that's not happening anytime.
You were really excited that day.
Yeah, when
you texted me at like 12:30 at night saying,
yes.
Sleep.
Yes. Well, I was excited because there was an alignment of the political parties. Like, I don't like to get too political, but so much is political. But the Miami-Dade lady was a Democrat. Of course, the CDC in a Democratic administration. And I thought that this boded well. And it seemed legit. Like, it seemed like some legit news. And it turned out to be legit news. It turned out that I was warranted to be excited that communication was happening. Now, the end result of that communication was a big pile of poo-poo. But I was excited that the communication was happening. So we get the information that we should be getting information shortly, and I think you and I both thought, well, look, they told us that in February with Royal Caribbean and nothing happened, so I don't think this was going to be anything soon. And then like 12 hours later, you got the CDC coming out with the big news that they were lessening the restrictions on domestic and international travel for the United States, which seemed like a very great piece of news because, we saw in the middle of March them come out and give the guidance that if you're vaccinated, you can hang out with other vaccinated people without, and it not be a big deal without a mask. And we knew that travel guidance would be coming after that. And boom, we got the travel guidance. And I thought, well, this bodes well. If all of a sudden we now get this guidance that the lady promised the mayor, then it should be good. And I thought it would take a couple days. And then just a few hours later, we got the news of the phase 2 deal. And so we covered that all weekend. And then I was super surprised to see Frank Del Rio come out on Monday and say, we see what you say with the new guidance and we're not going to do it. That's what I took away from it. Like in that letter from Frank Del Rio where he says, we're going to vaccinate, we're going to use all of our protocols, but one thing that we're not going to do is we're not going to make agreements with healthcare providers on land because we got it handled on board. I thought that was a bold move. To me, that's what makes me think that the CDC will say no to Frank Del Rio because that essentially says no to their whole phase 2. What do you think the likelihood is that the CDC will even entertain the Frank Del Rio conversation?
Unfortunately, I think like almost any government body, once they say something, they have a hard time to backtrack on it. They just said this Friday. Are they going to come out the following Wednesday and say, yeah, you know what? We were completely wrong. Don't worry about it. There's no way that's going to happen. They might come out and say, well, we will trust your stuff and everything, but you still have to do this part. Maybe.
Well, I think that NCL did a good job of giving them an out, right? They said, hey, look, we're just going to do exactly what you say. We're going to go above and beyond your guidance. I really think that the CDC, and of course the U.S. government today said that they didn't plan on mandating vaccines for anybody. They keep walking away from this idea that the government's going to have something to do with requiring vaccines. And so to me, I think that the CDC may possibly have been wanting the cruise lines to say that they would mandate a vaccine. And so to me, NCL kind of gives them an out. And they say, hey, look, we're going to have a fully vaccinated cruise ship. And we're meeting all of your expectations and beyond. So hopefully that's enough of a carrot where the CDC can save face. Like if it turns out to be a save face kind of thing, at least in that negotiation, they did all the work. I know you called it butt kissing. I just thought it was like masterfully scripted to align with the narrative.
Very well written.
Yeah. And so I just think that, they said, hey, look, you're right. And we want to be right with you and let us go try it your way. And we're doing it everything that you said plus. And I think it gives them an out, but I wonder when they'll respond. I don't know. Let me say thanks to some super chats because I see them coming and going. I don't want to miss them. Thanks everybody for supporting the show with your super chat. We sure do appreciate you. Thank you for being here on a Tuesday night. And again, we'll have some question and answer. We've got some footage of Frank Del Rio on the Jim Cramer show. We're going to show you that. And then I'm going to cover this letter that came out this afternoon, or this article that came out from Bloomberg that may suggest that the CDC will let us cruise midsummer. Jackie Otis, thank you so much for the super chat. Thank you, Don and Tony. Two of my faves. Hi, Don and Tony. Did the CDC respond to NCL? Not that we know of, but there's something else that went on with the CDC after hours today that actually made the stocks start running up. We'll talk about that. Thank you for the super chat. Living Black Irish, thank you so much for the super chat. Let's see. Donna S. Don, I hear you, but many are saying to turn up your mic. Okay, I hear you okay. Somebody else, somebody from the Blue Crew, how does Don sound? Before you make too many adjustments, Don, let's see what the admins say.
I was going to say, I plugged in another mic. Does that help?
You sound good. Like, I haven't had any trouble hearing you, but
hear
maybe
myself perfectly.
Yeah, I can turn you guys, I can turn Don up too if we can't hear him. Let's see. Larry Thomas, hello, Don, Tony, locafam, all lovers of travel. Hope everyone is doing well. Let's go cruising. Paul Vines, Don and Tony, two of the best. I think we're about through these. Thanks, everybody, for the super chats. Very kind, very generous. Raymond Wheeler, thank you for the super chat. Vanna V. Welch, the $4.99 challenge. Don, do you have Earl Shive's car painting places in Canada, or is that a U.S. thing only?
I think that's a U.S. thing. I haven't heard of that.
I think it's a southern U.S. thing. So it was some commercial that ran in the 70s and the 80s, and the guy would talk about he could paint any car for $199. Yeah, $199. I can paint a car any color. $199. So yeah, we have the $4.99 challenge. Thank you, Vanna V. Welch. Always great to have Don and Tony together. Oh, man, I just take a breath. All right, we're about to do it. John K. Thank you so much. $4.99 challenge. Who's got next? You guys are so generous. We appreciate it. Thank you so much. Bill Madsen, question. What about port workers? Will they need to be vaccinated? That could be an issue in Florida. Let's hold that question. We will answer it next. Eddie Pinero, thank you for the super chat. And Sean Murphy, thank you for the super chat. Here's a little Harry Larry Loca Lucha. Thanks for the super chat, everybody. All right. What do you think? Port workers, will they need to be vaccinated?
They won't be able to do that in Florida. I think people are still saying they can't hear me, Tony. If you could nudge me up a bit there for them.
I'm nudging you. How about now, guys? Try now. Can you guys hear Don? Can you hear?
Okay. Yeah, because of the statement that you don't need a vaccine, and the port is run by the state in vast majority, I don't think they're going to say anything about the port workers needing to be vaccinated. I think the whole ploy right now is crew members and passengers.
That's right.
That's their out. So
yeah, I agree. Like again, I don't think the cruise companies necessarily want, and I know the port workers don't work for the cruise company, but I don't think anybody wants to, from what I can tell, I don't think anybody wants to mandate a vaccine in the U.S. And so I think people are going to be walking away from that as much as they can. But yeah, so back to the NCL conversation. So I think if you guys haven't seen this Jim Cramer thing, I'm going to play it with Don and I here. This was Jim Cramer and Frank Del Rio, a very positive conversation about cruising. Let's see, it might play when I kick it over. So we will give some commentary on this. But this is from CNBC. And so I want to make sure that we give them credit. But this was very interesting from NCL. Here's Frank Del Rio.
All right, so Frank, I'm a little confused. I see people going to hotels or traveling in airplanes, they're going to the casinos or line up getting casinos. But when it comes to cruises, the cruises, somehow the CDC says, whoa, I don't think these guys can do anything right. That's how I read it. How do you read it, and what are you doing in response?
Look, we read it the same way. It's time to get back to cruising. We have a solid plan. The plan we put out to the CDC today is comprehensive. It's robust. It has as its cornerstone, everyone on board is going to be vaccinated. Plus, we're going to incorporate all the protocols that the Health and Safety Panel put together. So combined, it's ironclad, Jim. I don't want to say that I'm daring the CDC to do anything, but I want to hear any feedback that suggests that this is not the best way to come back and cruise again. I challenge you to tell me of another venue anywhere that has this kind of ironclad health and safety protocols in place. Not any building, not a casino, not a hotel, not a theme park, not an airplane, not your corner drugstore, not your grocery store, nowhere. Cruise ships will de facto become the safest place on Earth.
All right, so Frank, it's not like...
All right, so we'll stop it right there. So this is the great argument, right? This is the great argument. Frank Del Rio says that the cruise lines will be the safest on Earth. Now, here's my take on it. The CDC, as far as I can tell, from what's happened in the last year, to me, it seems that the CDC only has the ability to stop cruising. It doesn't seem to me that they have the ability to stop planes from flying. It doesn't seem to me that they have the ability to stop baseball games from happening. It doesn't seem to me that they have the ability to do anything other than to stop cruising. And so because it's the only thing that they can stop, it seems like that's what they are stopping, because I got to believe that if the CDC had the ability to keep 50,000 people from gathering at the Blue Jays and Texas Rangers baseball game yesterday, they would stop it. So what do we do, and tell me if I'm wrong or if you think of that a different way, but what can we do in a scenario where the thing that we love is the only thing that can be stopped?
Yeah, well, unfortunately, it's true. The CDC's biggest authority is over cruise ships, by far. They can't legislate the airlines because that's individual states are in charge of that as well. But their own guidelines that they brought out for international travel goes against what they're saying for cruise ships, just goes completely against it. So they have a hard time coming up with the argument that you can't cruise. And I think Frank Del Rio is absolutely right. And I hope all the different cruise lines come out and start saying that loudly, like they probably should have been doing for about 4 months now. But
yeah,
the biggest thing, if you got to think about it, is If they're opening everything else in the United States, and I mean everything else, just because you have control over 15 ships in the United States doesn't mean that you should only restrict that business from now on. Let's bankrupt one business that we have control over and let every other business start opening. That is a lawsuit in the making.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how it plays out because, it depends whether things do operate in a vacuum or not. If the CDC can make the case that they're right as rain and that the thing that they can be most protective of, if they are justified in being protective of it, they don't treat cruising like international travel. They treat it like, congregate residential, whatever the phrase was. They treat it like dorm rooms and apartment buildings and prisons. And because they can treat it like that, they can keep it locked down when they can't lock down any of those other things. I think they would probably try to make the case and say, look, that's the safest thing that we could do. And that's our job. And, we can't help what's going on in the rest of the country. I'm just playing devil's advocate. Look, I think I agree with Frank Del Rio. I agree that cruising is safer than the baseball game. And I think that we should go cruising. Now, we've been saying that for 6 months. You got to balance it out. The thing that was always frustrating to me is like people are like, oh, you just want people to die. Neither one of us have ever wanted people to die. But at the same time, you got to use some sort of, balance it out. Can you restart business safely and can you keep people healthy at the same time? I think the cruise lines have demonstrated that. Let's listen to the rest of what Frank and Jim exchanged. It's a great exchange, and we'll go from there.
Correct me if I'm wrong, that there are no ships sailing and we have no data, right? I mean, there are ships sailing outside this country where we have plenty of data that nothing's happened.
Look, my colleagues have done, or I should say my peers have done a fantastic job. Several cruise companies for the last 8 months have been cruising in Europe and Asia. They've carried over 400,000 guests with less than 50 COVID cases. Now, that's a much lower prevalence rate than anywhere else on land. They've handled each one of them with grace. No cruise has been interrupted or canceled midway. They've handled them beautifully. And that's without having vaccines on board. Imagine how low the rate, if any, there will be on board a vessel if everybody is vaccinated. So, look, we feel confident about this plan. I've said it many times, Jim. I will not put the safety and health of any of our guests or crew or the communities we visit unless I am 100% sure that we can deliver a health and safety environment. I won't put my 88-year-old mother who's in a wheelchair on board until that's the case. And I believe that this proposal that we put forth today to the CDC does just that.
Yeah, so I think that's a great clip, and I'm interested to see if the CDC formally responds to Frank Del Rio because, I don't know what it means to just send a letter to the CDC, if that will mean anything or not. Now, the point that he makes there, and let me ask you what you think about this. The point that he makes there is that if we look at the numbers in Europe, if we look at the numbers in Asia, 400,000 passengers have sailed essentially safely since last summer. I mean, there were times where some of those sailings were shut down as COVID spiked in different places. But overall, if you look at cruising since last summer, 400,000 people. The big pushback that I see from our communities in our comments is North Americans will not behave in the same way that Europeans and Asian folks will, that they will not adhere to the cruising protocols. Do you give that any credence? Do you think that we need to throw out the 400,000 because we don't think that people in North America will behave the same way? How would you respond to that?
I don't, rules are going to be rules. And first off, he is right. If they mandate the vaccine, that's another layer on top of all this. Also, of those 50 cases he's talking about, the vast majority of those were on two ships, the Norwegian ferry that had the outbreak along the coast and Saga cruise ship that Ben and David were on. You take those out of the equation, there were 16 cases total on over 170 different cruises. So tell me where that, in Ottawa, we have a school that has had 15 outbreaks since this all started, just in Ottawa. So yet that's still open.
Right.
It's just frustrating that they seem to go against their own science in a lot of the cases. They have all the protocols in place to start up. They have the science facts of history of what's been happening. They're going to vaccine, even though they didn't mandate vaccines, and still they say that's not good enough. It kind of flies in the face of science, and that's the frustrating part. They're supposed to be science-based.
No, I agree with it, and I do think that this week we see multiple attacks, right? Multiple attacks on the CDC. Norwegian, CLIA. This is the second time that CLIA has gone at him. But what do you think about the idea that once we all start cruising, do you think that people will rebel against the protocols, or do you think that it will not be that way?
I think the vast majority of people understand what the protocols are to get cruising started. You're not going to have your casual cruiser saying, I'm going to do my first cruise right now. Those people aren't cruising. But seasoned cruisers who know what to expect and are just happy to be out in the ocean, I think they'll follow the rules, and I think there won't be too many issues.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I think the cruise lines are going to be super strict in the beginning. And this is one of the pushbacks. So, Norwegian came out and said, look, everybody has to be vaccinated. We're holding on to this vaccination policy until the end of October. And, when you dig deeper into it, there's no exemption. Like, they say, look, kids are welcome on board, but if they're not vaccinated, they're not welcome. I don't see any exemption. And of course, you've already got, a lot of people out there saying, well, this isn't fair. I still contend that for cruising to get started in the U.S., it's got to be super, over the top with the protocols. And I would continue to caution anybody that, it's not going to be cruising as usual in the beginning. I think we're probably looking at 2022 or middle of 2022 before it's like regular cruising, even if it's that soon. When do you think we get back to cruising pre-pandemic feel?
It depends. If it's only American cruisers on the ship, I think you would get back to it much faster because of the vaccine rollout. Mm-hmm. Once they start announcing international travel, depending on where they're coming from, UK is doing really well. The EU is not. Canada's not doing really well. United States is. So if they stay with American-only cruises to begin with, I think you guys may be back to normal on your cruise ships by even October.
Yeah, I mean, I'm really feeling like, based on the guidance from the middle of the month where vaccinated people can hang out together without mask, I think once you get fully vaccinated people on a cruise ship and they prove that it's safe, I could see the mask going away fairly quickly once they prove that vaccinated people won't pass it to each other. So I think that is the path. I know not everybody's excited about the path, but I think vaccinated cruising is the path to no mask cruising. Because I think if it's a scenario where everybody's not vaccinated, they're not going to drop those other protocols.
Well, here's a great example, right? I think people are just plain tired of COVID.
Yes.
We've been at this a year, right?
Yes.
Forget about cruising. I mean, COVID as a whole. I mean, here in Canada, our cases are skyrocketing. They're begging people to stay home and not go outside. And there's parties on the street. We had 6 parties in my block on the weekend for Easter. People are just tone deaf now. They're not listening to it. It's going in one ear, out the other.
Yeah.
In the United States, oh, you know what? Texas, we're going to open up 43,000 people in a baseball game. No mask to be seen except on the players. People are just tired. And I personally don't blame them. Do I think it's all perfectly good, going to be great? I don't know. I'm not a doctor. But I understand the frustration of enough is enough already. And even on me, I hear numbers in Ottawa all the time. Today's cases are this amount. The virus is up. The percentage of this. The wastewater is this. Every single day. And we're numb. We're numb to it now. It doesn't matter.
No, I agree. So I want to tie together this Carnival announcement today with what we see in Bloomberg. Let me get through a couple super chats. Thanks everybody for the super chats and for the donations. We sure do appreciate it. Teresa McShane in for the $4.99 challenge. Craig in for the $4.99 challenge. Thank you guys for the super chat. I'm just sliding through the chat here to see if the whole thing jumped. Jan Rantu, thank you so much for the super chat. Let me see if I can make sure. I want to make sure I catch them all. I don't want to miss anybody. Thank you guys so much. Jennifer Christie, thank you for the super chat. She wants to cruise. We know that feeling for sure. Absolutely. I'm just sliding back up through here so I don't miss anybody. John Ketchum, thank you for the super chat. Why don't the cruise ship companies bring a lawsuit against the CDC and fast track it to the Supreme Court? Let's hold that question. I will remember that question. Let me make sure that I get all of the super chats real quick. Kevin Fagan, thank you for the super chat. Don, Canada has a $4.99 Tim Hortons challenge. That's right, $4.99 Timmy challenge. Thank you so much, Kevin, for the super chat. I just want to make sure I don't miss anybody, so we can get to that question. All right, I've got all the ones that I can see. Thank you guys. John Corey, thank you for the super chat. There's John's question, John Ketchum's question, and John Burns, thank you for the super chat. You have a question there. We'll go with John's first. Why don't the cruise ship companies bring a lawsuit against the CDC and fast track it to the U.S. Supreme Court? I don't particularly know the answer to that, other than I would say they probably can't, or they would have done it at this point. What do you think, Don? I don't think they can sue like that. And definitely I don't think you can run something to the Supreme Court that quickly.
No, but by the time it runs to the Supreme Court, I think the United States will be wide open already by that time, unfortunately. Because you're talking about bringing in experts from each side that are saying that what we're doing is the safest way to do it. And you have to be able to prove that it's not the safest way to do it. Safest way to fight COVID, no one is allowed to leave their house ever. Can we do it? No, but it's the safest way, right? So if somebody says that's the rule, you have to follow it, because you can't really argue it. I don't think a lawsuit is the way to go, but it might come to that just to try and influence somebody to change their mind, right?
Yeah, and that's the thing. So, like, the governor here in Florida, he threatened a lawsuit, but he really didn't say that he was going to sue. Like, he's like, if we can't get communications going, then I will have the attorney general look at a lawsuit. So it was very like a threat of a lawsuit. But I just don't think there would be a lot of leg to stand on. Again, CDC has been given the authority from the federal government here to make decisions for really borders and other things during the pandemic. They have that authorized. I think they have the backing of the administration. And even in the last administration, where some would argue that there was a contentious relationship between that administration and the CDC still had enough authority to get some things done. So I think they have a lot of authority. I think they would be backed by the federal government. So I'm not really sure that a lawsuit is that viable, I guess, is kind of my take on it. John Burns, thank you for the super chat. Asked the question, Canada's border is closed. I'm wondering if it will open if the U.S. can prove, how I don't know, that a certain percentage of Americans are vaccinated, like 75 to 95%, not Canada, but the U.S. Do you think Canada would open their borders to U.S. citizens if we're all vaccinated?
As much as I want that to happen, it won't happen, unfortunately, because even though you have the vaccine, you can still spread the virus. And in Canada, we don't have the vaccine. We are only I think only 1% of our population has received both doses by now. We're looking at being done maybe by the end of the year at the current pace. No, they will not open the borders until we start getting vaccines. But on that, if President Biden has happened to listening out there, we know you have 78,000 AstraZeneca vaccines sitting in fridges because you haven't even approved it in the United States. We'll take them, and then when you approve it, we'll send you them back. How's that?
You said 78.
I'm doing the good stuff here for us.
That's right. You said 78,000, but you mean 78 million?
78
right?
million.
That's what you mentioned to me earlier.
Doses.
Yeah, absolutely.
Enough to do the entire country of Canada in a week.
That would be nice. Noah Kingston with a question. How will NCL verify vaccinated passengers? What I'm understanding right now is the way that vaccinated passengers will be verified. This is what I have to take on my Royal Caribbean cruise, is the card that they give you. They give you like a cardstock card. Seems like you could copy it, but on that cardstock card, they put they put who you are. They put the case number, or they can track back the vaccine that they put in your arm to a lot number. And so, there's got to be a database somewhere. I do understand that there's a database, but I believe that I have to show up with that card. There's not a universal passport system or anything like that. I believe it's going to be the paper card. Thank you for the super chat. Minnesota Mickey with a super chat. Hi to half of my favorite peeps. I'll take Don, but he's not as good looking as Jenny. Well, you know, that's true. It's very hard to compete with Jenny, but she's in for the $4.99 challenge. Thank you. Thank you, everybody, for the super chats.
Wait a minute. You haven't seen me in a dress yet. I dress up pretty nice. So
that's true. I believe that we'll be looking for that on one of your future videos. Hit the like button if you'd like to see Don in a dress. And if you wouldn't like to see Don in a dress, hit the dislike button twice.
Twice.
How about that?
Just to show how much you dislike that.
All right, so we're building the case. I want to share this with you because this is really the breaking cruise news. So Carnival cancels their cruises for June. In a statement also to USA Today or some other source, Christine Duffy, the president of Carnival Cruise Line, said, look, we still have no intention to move our ships away from the United States. However, we will if we cannot get things going on shortly. And so I believe it's from that quote that Bloomberg runs with this. So I'm going to read this article and we'll stop along the way, but listen carefully. Does this mean that the CDC is giving in, that we will be cruising midsummer? All right, this is from Bloomberg. U.S. cruises could resume by midsummer with restriction, the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention said Tuesday after Carnival Corp, the largest operator, threatened to relocate their markets. That's a bold statement that Bloomberg's saying right there, that cruises could resume by midsummer. The agency signals sent shares of cruise companies rising after market, blah, blah, blah. The industry has been pressuring the agency, saying that it's restricting their return to seas even as other hospitality industries, hotels, and theme parks reopen. Is that a fair comparison? Again, I think the CDC, it's a fair comparison, but I don't, again, think the same people are making the decision. The CDC technically lifted its ban on cruising in October, but issued a so-called conditional order with a multi-step process that companies must meet to sail again. They claim the process is overly burdensome. That's what we heard all this last week since the new guidance have come out. The CDC hasn't met its own timeline, and the whole process treats them more harshly than other tourism-related businesses. They need about 90 days to prepare ships to sail. Now, here's the quote that they got from the CDC. Tell me if this sounds like the CDC is bending their knee to this pressure from the cruise line. CDC is committed to working with the cruise industry and seaport partners to resume cruising following the phased approach outlined in the conditional sailing order, CDC spokesman Jade Fulch said in a response to questions about Carnival. This goal aligns with the desire to resume passenger operations in the United States expressed by many major cruise ship operators and travelers, hopefully by midsummer with restricted revenue sailings. That's what the hubbub is. That's why people are saying that the CDC is about to bend the knee to all of this pressure. Don, listening to that quote, does it sound like the CDC is saying, yes, we're opening up for midsummer?
No. In fact, it almost sounds like they're doubling down on their own statement, right? It says, right when it says, we're committed to working with them, that sounds all great. But they also say that it has to align with the opening processes that they've already put into place. Hopefully by midsummer. Well, cruise lines, if you're fast enough and you follow all of our protocols, and then we give you the next guidance for operation and you pass all them, hopefully you can cruise. But until you do it, you're still not going to do it. I don't think there's any intent there of saying we're definitely letting them sail.
Yeah, to me, if this is the quote that they base their initial statement on, U.S. cruises could resume by midsummer, I guess it's fair. They say could resume, but I don't get the warm and fuzzies from this at all. Like, they reached out to CDC, and it's like a stock answer. Look, the conditional sail order is going on. That we're going to keep doing that. And, yeah, I guess they could get through all the hoops by midsummer. I don't know. This was not, like, when I saw the headline... Like the headline from this Bloomberg article, CDC says cruise is possible by midsummer as tensions boil over. I don't see the answer from the CDC having anything to do with the tensions boiling over. It sounds like just the standard old answer to me.
Or even the cruises by summer.
Right.
Well, there could be cruises by summer. The pandemic could be over by summer. I could win the lottery in the summer. All possibilities, right? So
Exactly. All right. Well, look, I know we kind of don't do this on our shows a lot, but let's dabble in the conspiracy theories for a little bit. Now, one of my favorite conspiracy theories is that the CDC is out to destroy the cruise industry so that the cruise industry doesn't exist anymore. And then sometimes the same people that have that conspiracy theory will say, haha, now that Norwegian Cruise Line's cruising from Jamaica, now that Royal Caribbean's cruising from Nassau, that will show the CDC and they will have to bend the knee to the cruise line. Which is it? Is the CDC trying to destroy cruising? And if they are, then it doesn't matter what the cruise lines do because the whole goal is to destroy cruising. Or is it something else, Don? What's going on? You know the CDC gooder than I do. What's the deal?
Well, I honestly think right now the real thing that's happening right now is that the CDC doesn't want to greenlight cruising and have something go on like the Diamond Princess, because they will look bad again, because they looked bad in the beginning. And you know what? Like I said on my video, it's okay to have looked bad at the beginning because we didn't know what this stuff was. We were still trying to figure it out. So yes, wrong decisions were made. Who cares? We know the right decisions now, but they're still terrified that that's going to come out. We also talk a little bit, just one quick thing we want to bring up when we talk about different agencies and who's responsible for opening and stuff like that, right? The CDC does have power on airlines. Remember, they're the ones who said you have to leave the middle seat. You have to do that. Delta just announced they're filling all their seats 2 months early. Have we heard a single peep from the CDC about that? But every time the cruise lines open their mouths, you hear them saying, oh, well, framework.
Yeah. I think it goes back to how much power they actually have. So to your point, CDC makes recommendations for airline, but that runs through the FAA. And they work together. I just don't think that the CDC has to work with anybody for cruising. It's just the CDC. And I think them, and I do believe your point, to Diamond Princess. I just recently watched the last cruise. It was super eerie, Don, because there's footage of people walking out on their balcony at night, looking at the bridge in Yokohama, just like you and I did. Just a few months earlier.
Where we did our live stream that night.
In that very same spot. It was eerie because it was almost the exact same. And nobody knew what to do. Like, Diamond Princess is a horrible disaster. But the thing that people seem to miss about cruise ships is what Frank Del Rio said. They're all about health and safety for their customers. This is the funny thing. This is another one of the things I love. Early on in this, it's like the cruise lines, they don't care about the health and safety of their customers because they're just about the money. Well, the thing that is going to make the cruise lines the most money in the long term is caring about the health and safety of their passengers. It is a tenet of their business not to kill people on a cruise ship. Because if you are known for killing people on a cruise ship, I don't think that you would do very good in business. And so if you look at norovirus and you know, people that aren't cruisers, people that don't study it, they don't look at it, they get it twisted, right? Norovirus. What about the norovirus outbreak? Norovirus is very minimal on a cruise ship. Now, you hear about it because it's so popular. Everybody got sick on a cruise ship. 600 people got sick on a cruise ship. 40 million people went cruising since 600 million people got sick, or 600 people got sick on a cruise ship. But what happened is norovirus used to be a problem on a cruise ship. And then the cruise lines built whole procedures around how to minimize norovirus on a cruise ship. So we've had 13 months for them to do the same thing with coronavirus. The same thing to do with COVID, right? They watched the same videos that we all did about Diamond Princess and adjusted, which every business should. That's business. And so it's frustrating to me that if Diamond Princess is the thing that's still being used as the thing to say that cruising shouldn't happen, then it's just intellectually void to do that, because that's saying that nobody learned anything from Diamond Princess. And I think everybody learned something from Diamond Princess. That's me on my soapbox there. The Diamond Princess thing is fascinating, but I get so tired of people saying, oh, somebody said this in, March of 2020, but then 3 months later they said something different. And then 3 months after that, they said something different. What happened in those 3 months? Well, a lot. You learn and you adjust. And I think that, it's wrong to hold the cruise lines to what happened in March of 2020. Okay, now I'm finally off my soapbox. Let me say some more. Thanks for super chats. Falasian Boy 9, $4.99. Thank you for the super chat. Hope to cruise this September. Always watching you and Don's videos. Thanks for always updating it. Thanks for watching our videos. That's, you know what? We've been very fortunate during this time. Both of us have a travel component to our business, and that's not been that fruitful. And fortunately, by you guys continuing to watch us, we're continuing to be able to be a part of that cruise life, to be in a voice in that cruise life. If you guys didn't come out and support us on these live streams, if you didn't come out and watch the videos, we would have just gone away. And so it's nice to still be here talking cruising with you guys. It could have been a really challenging year. I feel like we're fairly, it worked out okay considering. So, but we'll be glad when we get back to cruising for sure. Chris Wagner, thank you for the super chat. People need to tweet the director, all those things that Chris is saying. Yes. Also go to CLIA Action Center. They make it really easy to put in your name, put in your email. They identify who your senators are and your representatives. You can write whatever you want about cruising and they will mail it off. I'm a big believer I believe in talking about stuff, right? We talk about stuff all the time, but when you can take action, you should take action. And that CLIA Action Center is a great way to do it. Chris Wagner, thank you for the super chat. Boy, I guess I got to catch my breath. All right, let's see. Let's get through the rest of the super chats. Alice Human, thank you for the super sticker. Much appreciated. And of course, the chat just jumped on me, Don. So, Don, what was the biggest cruise news story this week as I'm trying to make sure I don't miss out on any super chats?
Obviously, well, this week, if we count Friday, it was the new regulations. I don't think when we heard in the afternoon the new guidance for travel, international travel, domestic travel, we got our hopes up big time after hearing that.
I was excited.
All right, here we go. They're counting the vaccines. There you go. Tell the cruise lines you got a vaccine for the first 2-3 months. Let's go cruising. And then they came out and spouted the same old rhetoric, basically.
Yeah.
It took them 5 months to tell us what we already knew 5 months ago that they were going to ask us to do. The other cruise lines were already doing it. They already had the hospitals. They already have the hotels. They already have the evacuation procedures. Why did it take them 5 months to give it to us? Yes, cases were on the rise, et cetera, et cetera. But I mean, they still could have said it, so the cruise lines could have been preparing for it. And they didn't. And that's a big takeaway. Whether Frank Del Rio's plea, CLIA's plea, or anything is going to happen, I think nothing's going to happen unless the actual administration steps in. And that's the only way I actually see something happening again.
I think that could happen. What do you think about this? Do you think on any... So, I've seen people say now that the cruise lines are moving to different home ports. Does that mean they'll never come back to the United States?
No.
If they move away, what do you think? I know how I think about this. What do you think about that?
No, they want to be here. The money is here. They invested. They just built a brand new Miami terminal. They don't want to lose the money of the United States. However, they're just getting frustrated at waiting and the restrictions. No other country in the world has set up the same restrictions, and it's flabbergasting to me that the CDC has done this. Like, beyond flabbergasted. And that's why you get the conspiracy theories and everything out there. Do they have a vendetta? Does somebody want, like, somebody who's a green earth person or something who is writing these things? I don't know. Or if it's just plain, we don't want to be held responsible for anything. So somebody else, please take this off our hands. And the only way that's going to end is April 21st. All of a sudden, it's no longer, it's not going to end on April 21st, but it might end on June 21st.
That's been my favorite nugget out of the last month, stumbling across that a little bit. So it was 2 weeks before the last time it expired when they extended it. So tomorrow, the next day, the day after that, we will be looking close to see if there is an extension of the public health emergency. Man, if we can get through the next 4 days or 5 days without that happening, you know me, I'll be excited. But yeah, I think you're right. Like, so I'm watching the COVID numbers. They're on the rise because we just had spring break, we just had Easter, we had 1.6 million people getting on planes with no middle seat left open. And so, but the interesting thing is the COVID numbers are going up, and they say that it's primarily younger people. So older people are getting vaccinated. The people that are really at risk for severe illness are getting vaccinated. So it's interesting right now. There's an inverse relationship. So the COVID cases are slightly going up, but the death count's going down. I think it's like 800 today in the U.S. when it was 1,000.
That's the only important metric.
I believe that that's the important metric. So I really hope that that's what happens. And I believe if the death number gets down to 0, hospitalizations get down low, they should end the public health emergency. And then it becomes a thing that we live with. So I don't know, over the next 4 or 5 days, that's what I'm going to be waiting for. I'm going to be dreading. I'll be texting you sad faces, Don. Health and Human Services just extended the thing. But yeah, I believe that if not April, July is pretty sexy. I do believe that July is pretty sexy if the numbers continue to trend down. If everybody in the United States can have a vaccine that will get the vaccine, those numbers should trend down, in my opinion. Super chats are coming in hot and heavy. I don't want to miss anybody. Let me give some super chat love. John Burns, planning a world cruise in late 24, July 25. Is it wise for me to hold off considering COVID, as I could avoid most of those problems? Late 24, July 25. What do you think? You think we should be good by then, right? Unless something else.
2024? Yeah. I'm booking people on 2022, so don't worry about it.
Yes.
So, yeah.
Let's see. See the World with Chris. Thank you for the super chat. Office Depot and Staples will laminate your vaccine card and also copy and reduce it to 75%, so it will fit in your wallet for free. Keep the original with the passport. That's a great tip there, Chris. Everybody listen to that. Once you get wait till you get your second vaccination. Don't go get it laminated when they still have to write on the card. I'm sure everybody knows that. And then take it to Staples, Home Depot, get it laminated, reduced. Chuck Spencer, hate that Jenny B is not well. Here's some money for cough drops. That's right. Hey, look, man, we got a stash over here. Rico Law. Yes, so thank you so much. And Jenny, we're putting her to bed right after this if she's not asleep already. Are you awake? I see her out there. She said thanks to Chuck. Let's continue. Such a great amount of people here tonight. Sorry we haven't got to more of your questions. There's just been a lot to talk about in the cruise news. I would like to get to some questions. Let me make sure we get through all the super chats, and then we will look for some questions in the chat. John Burns, are there statistics about odds of dying on a cruise versus dying on an airplane? Cruise safety versus automobile safety? Yeah, I'm sure there are, John. I haven't looked those up. The only thing that I've ever looked up before is how many people die in car accidents a year, because I see that in the comments. Many people die in a car accident. The last data that I saw was around 52,000 people a year die in car accidents. And that is much less than the COVID number. I know people will say the COVID number is fake, but let's just assume for this argument that the COVID number is real. So much less people die in car accidents. And think about the extraordinary steps that we go through to make that number only 52,000 for cars. I mean, we go for seatbelts and anti-lock brakes and speed limits and restrictions and federal oversight. And so it's not unheard of that when something comes along that's killing people, like automobiles, that we do jump through crazy hoops to reduce that number. And so the only reason I throw that out there is I do get frustrated when people say we should have just let this thing run wild and killed people, and it would only have been like 3 million people. Who cares? So, but yes, there are stats out there. Kevin Fagan, thank you so much for the super chat. What will Carnival do if CDC says yes to NCL vaccine cruises? I think if CDC allows NCL to go forward with their plan, I think you will see many other cruise lines have a similar plan. What do you think, Don?
Royal Caribbean already has the same plan. They did this healthy sail panel with Norwegian. So yeah, it would be a matter of seconds before the other cruise lines adopted it.
Let me say this. That's a great thing that you brought up. NCL makes the move. RCL or Royal Caribbean doesn't. Is there trouble in paradise? Are they going to be competing over safety? How about that? If Norwegian says yes to vaccines and Carnival says no to vaccines, is that competing against over safety, and is that against the kind of agreement they had to not compete over safety?
I think they said they won't compete over issuing of state like protocols, but the vaccine is a probable necessary step. And if the CDC agrees to Norwegian, Carnival's going to do it. They're not going to say, you know what, we'll wait. We'll wait till September. No, they'll jump on board.
There's been some signaling from Carnival leadership that they don't want to require a vaccine. I've thought about that also. Wouldn't it be interesting if you end up with that kind of choice? I can cruise vaccinated or I can cruise unvaccinated. I think that would be wild. And to see if people would switch their loyalty, or that would be pretty wild.
Well, so I'm just thinking opening, right? Like right now, I'm thinking CDC allowing them to open.
Yeah, do whatever.
The vaccine
right?
is basically the only thing that's going to allow it right now.
Yeah, and that that's what I want to say. Look, I'm all for people choosing what they want to do and what not to do, and I think that's the way that we should live our lives with respect for other people. But at the same time, I want cruising to open, and so whatever it takes, do that. And if it means that I can't cruise, like I said, that like as a heavy person, statistically they show that heavy people tend to do worse with COVID. And so if they came out and said we're going to open cruising up, but you can't cruise if you're over a certain weight, I would have been okay. Let's just get cruising started, and I'll wait, or I'll lose some weight, or I'll wait until I can cruise again. To me, the most important thing is to get cruising going again. And I just hope that the people can understand that. It doesn't mean that I don't think you have to fight over this thing. I just think the fact that this industry is being held down, in my opinion, and whatever we got to do to open it back up. Velvet Me 22, thank you for the super chat. Thank you, gentlemen, for the coverage. I get vaccinated tomorrow. I just don't want to miss any of these super chats. Sharon Stockman, thank you for the super chat. She says, "Do not laminate," all in capital letters. "We'll need the card for boosters if different variants come out. Just keep with your passport." There you go. I kind of wish they would make the thing digital, and I know that some places are. To me, that would be a lot more easy if I could just download an app every time I have a new phone or something like that. Me keeping up with a piece of paper is going to be a pain in the tuchus. But I do keep up with my passport, so I guess I can't, I guess it's not that hard. To Travel and Tour. You remember them, don't you, Don? From the ship that we were on? What ship were we on? I don't know. But yes, it was good to meet them. We were on the MSC ship. Looking forward to setting sail with you guys once again. Good. Thank you guys for the super chat. Glad to have you here. Glade Cornelius, thank you for the super chat. All right. That's all the super chats. We got 2 whole minutes left for questions. Don, you got a few minutes left.
Is that including the minutes we ripped off of people at the beginning when we crashed?
Yeah, when did we get the show started? We got like 5 or 10 more minutes. All right, you guys, this would be the time to type question. If you want to get a question, I'm looking at the crew at the bottom of the chat right now. Jonathan Peters, thank you for the super chat. Let me give a Harry Larry so I can take a breath.
Super chat.
All right. I'm looking for questions. Big shout out to the Blue crew tonight for taking care of the room. Thank you, everybody whose name's in blue. I know that Slinky's here. Of course, Jenny B is here. I think my brother was here. Hey Girl, Ellen Huffnell was here. I think Sarah Phillips is here. Chuck Spencer. Can you talk about Alaskan Bill SJR9? I don't know what that is. Don, do you know what that is? Alaskan Bill SJR9.
That's the bill that they're trying to bypass Canada so they can cruise.
Oh, okay. I think that thing's dead in committee, is from what I've heard.
It doesn't matter if it passes if the CDC won't let you cruise.
Exactly.
So it's still, it's not. Yeah, I think Alaska should worry about that after they start sailing.
Let me just say this. I've heard a lot of people, look, let me stand up for Canada. A lot of people are like, Canada ruined the Alaska cruise season. It's not Canada's rule. The Passenger Vessel Services Act is not Canada's law. The Jones Act is not Canada's law. Our law screwed up the Alaska season. So while what Canada decided for itself made our thing more challenging, it just shocked me to hear people go, "Oh, yeah, Canada screwed up the Alaska season." Well, we're the one with the rule that makes you not sail up there. So it's Jay Ruck.
However, we jumped the gun pretty heavy.
Yeah,
like we went all the way to next February.
You guys hurt yourselves, right? I mean, like you hurt yourself. You lost a lot of tourism on that. Jay Ruck, I must not have saw your Earl Scheib super chat. It must have went away. I apologize. That's the problem. These super chats go quick, so I'm sorry if I missed them. Tried to make sure I got all of them. Karen Staffen, Granny's B Gecko. We need a cruise, whatever it takes. That's right. Are they booking at a lower capacity? So NCL has basically said they're going to book at 60% capacity starting in July, and then they're going to ramp it up 20% per month as everything goes okay. When we're talking about the cruise in out of Nassau for Royal Caribbean that I'm on, they're booking it, I think, at about 50 or 60%. Let's see, Mark Rogers, why doesn't a 125% future cruise credit not cover the cost of a same cruise next spring? So this is turning out, it's going to be economics, right? Supply and demand. You're going to have a limited amount of supply as cruise lines come on. You're going to have a great demand because there's a lot of people holding future cruise credits. And yeah, it's a safe bet for the cruise lines to give you 25% more because they're going to be able to charge more for their cruise. And that's the unfortunate thing that I think a lot of people got excited. I'm getting 125%. And without the idea that when cruising actually started, it was going to be more expensive. Cruising will be more expensive for a little while, in my opinion.
Yeah. It would have been a good deal had we only been shut down for 2 months, 3 months.
Right.
But now there's a full year worth of future cruise credits out there.
Yeah, I think Royal did a really good job, and the only one that we didn't really take the refund back on was some Royal cruises with the lift and shift, because that was almost like a price guarantee to move your cruise forward. But yeah, it's definitely a risk. Let's see. I'm just looking for a question. If your cruise starts on July the 3rd, but if cruising starts on July the 4th, does that mean you would be canceled? Probably. If the start of cruise date is July the 4th and yours is the 3rd, it will be canceled. What about DeSantis passing a law stating a company can't ask for someone to prove they have a vaccine? So he wrote an executive order. So he's the leader of the state. He has executive powers, has nothing to do with the laws in Florida. He wrote an order that said that businesses operating in Florida cannot require a vaccine. The only teeth that is in that executive order is that if you violate that you can't get you can't get state funding. Again, DeSantis, it's a mixed bag, right? Because he came out and said that he's for the cruise companies. He's ready to sue the CDC. Cruising has to start. There's a lot of revenue in Florida from cruising. I don't think he's going to be a stumbling block based on the vaccine, but he's going to have to talk himself back a little bit. Like, he's going to have to flip-flop a little bit and say it's okay for the cruise lines to request a vaccine. Because I really think I can't imagine, and the governor of Texas just wrote the same executive order. So we're thinking about cruising coming back from Galveston, Texas, or coming back from the ports in Florida. Both of the governors have said no vaccine mandate. They're going to have to back it off for the cruise companies, or I don't know where the cruise companies would go. Like, I don't know what the other best option is. I think they'll back it off.
I think they'll back off. First of all, if you are in Florida and you say, you know what, they said they can cruise, but I'm not going to let them cruise because they want to make sure you have a vaccine. It's political suicide. Honestly, no matter who you're for or against, kind of thing. But I also think that if the CDC says, okay, we'll let you cruise, but only if you vaccinate everybody, that gives them the out. They're going to say that the CDC has mandated the cruise lines do this. They have no choice.
I agree. Question: what incident happened that allowed the CDC to have all this power over the cruise lines? I've looked at it a couple times. I think there's something that happened in the 40s, and then it was reaffirmed. But the way the CDC lives in the ecosystem of the federal government under Health and Human Services, the government gives out power. And somewhere along the way, when it comes to pandemics, epidemics, there is an allotment of power given to the CDC from the federal government. Those are the powers that they've been operating with. They get asked this question a lot. There is a link on the CDC website. Just Google, where does the CDC get their power? And there's a lot there. But yeah, I mean, it's legit. Like, a lot of people are like, how, that's not even a federal thing. But it is a federal thing. The government gave them the power to do this. And they've been doing it to us.
Yeah. Their big power is protecting the country itself from foreign bodies and foreign diseases. Right. And unfortunately, the cruise lines are complete foreign bodies, where the airlines still have state legislation, the FDA, etc. So their full power right now is cruise line and cruise ports.
Yeah, I mean, that was the big question. Like, why are cruises different? I mean, there is a lot of other travel domestically happening, theme parks, hotels, all that stuff. But cruise travel is unique in the fact that for North American or for U.S. cruise travel, you have to go to a foreign country to do it. You have to leave this country, you have to go to a foreign country, and you have to come back. It is that crossing through the border that really kind of gives the CDC the oversight. And that's the challenging thing. All right, guys, we're going to take a couple more questions. We're going to wrap it up. Don, first of all, thank you for coming and spending an hour. I hope we fought enough for everybody. But yeah, I think it's funny. Like, I hope that we're an example to people out there that you can have different opinions and not, like we don't resort to name calling. I don't think either one of us think that each of us are, not smart or anything like that. And so that's the trouble right now. I mean, it's so frustrating. Like, what really kills me in my comments, Don, and you might get this too, is you'll see a well-crafted comment, and sometimes it's hard to read these long comments, and you're reading like a paragraph, and the person's making a real compelling argument, and you're down with it. You're like, yeah. And then they call somebody, and then they close it out with like, everybody's a stupid idiot, and you should jump off a bridge, and I hope you get COVID. And it's like,
yeah.
You lost me. Like, your argument is null and void if it results in name calling. And so I'm fortunate that I have you as a friend, and we can have these conversations without it being like that. So I just wanted to say that I appreciated you in that way. All right. Quit calling people names. That's what I'm saying. Don't call me names anymore. I mean, you got a suitcase with googly eyes. What do you want me to do?
I do.
All right.
He's anxious to travel.
Ready to travel. Stephanie M., thank you for the super sticker. Nick Butcher, thank you for the super chat. Do I think RCL out of Orlando in August will happen? Look, I think it's all going to happen. Nothing's canceled until it's canceled, but we are still in the vice grip of the CDC. If the CDC does not acquiesce and say that we can cruise, this has become very clear to me in the last few days. The cruise lines are not doing phase 2A. What do you think, Don?
No.
They're not doing it. So this is the impact.
Too much money. Like, why?
Here, this is where we're at. CDC says you have to do 2A, and everything I've heard from the cruise lines, from CLIA, we're not doing it. So I don't know when cruising starts in the U.S. That now has to be resolved. You will do 2A. I'm not doing it. And until that is resolved, it's going to be hard to predict when cruising will start in the United States. I think once the green light happens, like Del Rio said, like other people said, 60 to 90 days to get cruise ships going, a little bit at a time. I think it'll happen. But until they can solve that problem, we just watch and wait and go cruising out of different places. We try to get Don vaccinated so he can fly to Nassau and go on a cruise. This is the biggest problem. I think this might happen before the CDC comes to an agreement with the cruise lines. I think we will get Don the vaccine and to Nassau before that, which is sad. Which I'd be excited to get you there, but I really wish cruising would start in the U.S.
I was looking at that Greek cruise Norwegian announced today.
That one
sounds so nice, and I think I'm allowed to go if I'm vaccinated. So.
See the world with Chris. I think even without vaccine passports, private companies can still require vaccine thoughts. Yeah, I mean, vaccines are required. Like, I had an aunt who went on safari in Africa. She had to have a yellow fever vaccine. I had to have mumps, measles, and rubella before I went to college. I don't think requiring a vaccine is a whole new thing. So I think companies will be able to do that based on their own deal. It's going to be litigated, right? People are going to start asking for vaccines. People are going to sue about it. It's America, woohoo! But it will be resolved at some point. But I think there is precedent for people being able to ask for vaccines, so it's going to be interesting.
Well, right across Europe and Asia, they're now getting the vaccine passports running. So it's not just United States. It's if you want to travel to there, you're going to have to bring one too. So
yeah, I think vaccine's going to be a component of international travel. And you're either going to have to be content just traveling around the U.S. or because I think most international travel is going to have a vaccine component. Yeah. Karen Staffen, Granny B. Geckos, thanks for continuing on with the cruise news, even when there isn't a whole lot to report, both you and Don, Tony. Thank you. Yeah, it's we're both two guys who create something from nothing every day based on what you guys are into. Like it's really an interesting thing that we do, and I feel super lucky to have the opportunity to do it. I know Don does also. But that's it. Like, we feel like we're a part of you guys, and we're all one big community. And so at least I'm asking myself the question, I think Don is too, what do people want to know about today? And what does the news reflect in that conversation? And we do our best, and we appreciate you guys watching us do it. Yeah. And that's a good thing. If you're new here, or if you've never subscribed to Lido Loca, if you've never subscribed to Don's Family Vacation, please do it, because we will be making something for you brand new every day. And the fact that Don makes it every day keeps me making it every day, because, at 1 o'clock, if my video is not up, Don's like, are you not making anything today? And I'm like, I'm trying to make something, Don. Hold on.
Tony, I have a routine every day between 12 and 2 o'clock. I'm walking around my island to get my 10,000 steps in a day. And at 1 o'clock, your video is supposed to be up and running. So I have something to watch. So
yeah, YouTube got me today. I was kind of bummer. Sarah Phillips, thank you for the super chat. Suitcase needs to get drunk on a cruise again. Absolutely. Donna S., thank you for the super chat. Thank you, too, for joining forces and informing and entertaining us again. It's our pleasure. Jen Ash, I get 125% future cruise credit for cancel cruise in June of 2021. Can I apply it to a cruise I already put a deposit on for September of 2022? Look, Jenny's, well, you might know that one, Don.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, so if you're already locked in on a price, definitely try to apply those future cruise credits. Thanks, everybody, for the super chat.
Super chat.
All right, guys. Sorry for the rocky start. I don't really know what happened. I think it was the CDC trying to thwart our efforts. But the big takeaway. So the promise of the title is the CDC poised to say that we can cruise again midsummer. They kind of said it, but I don't think that it's the big aha that Bloomberg wanted us to think. We will continue to watch it. It will be interesting. Everybody Google cruise news a couple times tomorrow and see how many stories out there run with this Bloomberg story. But I need something more concrete than that, is what I'm saying, before I say that this is actually a thing.
Or just watch tomorrow's videos. We'll let you know.
That's right. That's right. All right, guys. Thank you so much for watching the show. Don, thanks again. My name's Tony.
Anytime. I'm Don.
That's right.
You want me to say it?
He's Don's family vacation.
I'm going to say this. Ready? Have you guys yourself a fantastic night.
Have yourself a fantastic night. And we'll see you on the Lido. Until the next time.
Night, everybody.
Goodbye, everybody.